Hello and welcome everyone. I appreciate you joining me today. I think we'll have some other folks coming on as we go along, but I really love it when people are on time. So I want to honor your time and we will absolutely start now. I would like to introduce myself. I am your host, Cyndi Lynne, and I also welcome you to grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and really get a sense that this time is for you. And I also want you to set an intention to have some fun with this and some fun with me today. And that's actually a new perspective that I picked up recently as I was being interviewed for a podcast. And after I talked about my program, the person said to me, "Wow, that really sounds like you have a lot of fun with what is a very serious topic." And I love that, and I love that he captured that sense from all of this. And so I encourage you too to set that same intention. So I'd also like you to keep your phone handy because there's a couple of slides that you may want to take screenshots of. I'm perfectly fine with that. There's a lot of information that I give here, information that you can use today and take with you. So feel free to take screenshots of any slides that have prompts that you might want to consider. And then also towards the end, there's a couple of QR codes that you might be interested in doing screenshots of. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Who is this webinar, this masterclass for? Well, this is for courageous women who want to thrive and not just survive an illness or a diagnosis. Maybe they've been in survival mode and they want more. They know they deserve more out of life. This is also for you if you've wished for your old life back. And I know this was very much for me. This will probably resonate with a lot of you. I really wanted my old life back, only to realize that it didn't fit anymore. When we have an experience like an illness or a diagnosis, we change and we grow and we realize there's so much more. And very often that old life really just doesn't fit. This is also for you if you're still managing your diagnosis and if you want to do it your way. Sometimes we feel just kind of pulled along with the whole process. If you want to take more of a control, you want to feel informed and empowered when making your healthcare decisions. And this is also for you if you're the kind of woman who wants to heal their lives beyond a cure. Now, conversely, this isn't for you if you need to remain fully focused on your diagnosis for now. And this isn't a negative thing. This is just very much when we're recently or newly diagnosed, that's where all of our focus has to go. And you don't necessarily have a lot of energy for the rest of what's going on in your life. Now, having said that, if you're looking to manage your diagnosis in your own way, you may be able to incorporate the practices that we have here. This also may not be for you if you don't like working within a community of members who offer support and you don't see that as being beneficial. And a little caveat, I'll tell you, I am an introvert. And so the idea of community really didn't appeal to me originally. And yet it's something I've come to appreciate and value if it happens in the right way. This may also not be for you if you prefer to figure things out for yourself and you have the time and energy to put a plan together. And you really don't want to invest at least 2 to 3 hours per month in your health. So with all of that in mind, over the next 45 minutes, we're going to show you practices and techniques to start reshaping your self-image, to put your diagnosis in its place. Now, I consider my diagnosis a chapter of my life, but certainly not the whole story. We're also going to give you effective methods for expressing gratitude for what you have while continuing to grow and expand your life all the while getting the support you need. And I'm going to demonstrate to you the valuable role that a strong community plays in the healing journey. Now, healing means so much more than just a cure for an illness. Healing brings the mind and the spirit to a place of peace and joy and contentment. So my promise to you is a new perspective of how your diagnosis fits into your life, and at least 3 actionable steps you can take today to start living your best life. I commit to giving you value and making the best use of your time, and I commit to staying on the call to answer all of your questions. So ask yourself, does this sound like you? Do you feel guilty for wanting more out of life? Really think about it. After all is said and done, after everything you've been through, shouldn't you feel happy just to be alive? And I know those are 2 startling statements, but very much a part of where I lived for a long time when working through this whole process. How about this? You appreciate all the help you've received, but you want to be back in the driver's seat when it comes to your health and your life. Sometimes there's a bit of a sense of losing control. Or how about this? You're tired of the sick role coloring your life at work and at home, and you don't want to be that woman anymore. And when I say that woman, I mean the woman who has all the doctor's appointments, the one who's frequently out of the office, the one who's always tired, the one who isn't expected to bring anything to family events. And this can be a situation where you've gotten better, but the perception of you by those around you may not have grown and changed and recovered with you. So you get kind of stuck in that old role of being that woman. How about this? You want a fresh start, but you're not really sure where to start. And to be honest, it seems like a really big undertaking. You love a new image, a new look, but you worry about how the people around you will accept that after you've had so much change in your life already. And your illness has changed your outlook on life. It's changed how you think about your work and your relationships and your goals. And I have this whole load of asterisks after illness because more and more women are coming to me as this pandemic situation evolves. So they've been coming to me for years to manage their health, but these past few months, probably close to 6 months now, women have been coming to me to help them figure out what their post-pandemic life will look like, how they actually want it to look. And really, when I look at it, there's a lot of common ground with my traditional group, because what we've been through communally, what we've been through individually over the last couple years has changed the way that we work, whether it be remote and then returning back to the office. It's changed the roles that we play in the family. It's changed a lot of how we live. And now, certain organizations, certain groups, certain companies are shifting back to what I'll call the old life. And again, it doesn't really quite fit. So the really good news is here that you are not broken and you don't need to be fixed. And I think when a lot of us embark on or sign up for a class or pick up a book on personal development, we do it with the eye on what's wrong with us. And there isn't anything wrong with you. You don't need to be fixed. You just need a personalized step-by-step plan for you to step into your new life and a support system to help you do that. Because once you have a personalized plan, you'll create a self-image you love and can continue to grow with. And we'll talk more about that later. You'll create the confidence and the know-how to get back in the driver's seat of your life if you've experienced some sense of that loss of control. And you'll be able to put your diagnosis in its place as a chapter of your life and not the entire book. So you've stuck with me this far. Again, I'm Cyndi Lynne, and I specialize in helping women create their very best life after a diagnosis. And the women I work with launch new careers, they rekindle relationships, including the relationship they have with themselves. They embark on new adventures, and they really step into a starring role of their lives. This means I have clients who've been cured, who are in remission, and who are managing chronic illnesses. And I focus on the diagnosis point because that's the point for most of us where lives have drastically changed. But really anywhere in this continuum, you can step back in to the controlling position of your life and make changes. So who am I? See if any of these roles overlap with you. I am a nurse, specifically a cardiac nurse for many years. I am a coach. I'm a yoga instructor. I'm a mom, boy mom. I am a Pilates instructor, a caregiver. I'm a wife. And for those of you who are nerdy like I am, in the lower right-hand corner, those are muscle fibers. I'm a muscle activation technique specialist. That's what the primary thing I do in my physical practice of rehab. So I have my own diagnosis story. I've been in your shoes and I've tried to balance it. I've had to work through all of these roles, transforming my diagnosis experience into an integrated part of my life without letting it keep control of my whole life. More specifically, excuse me, this is my family. Over in the left-hand corner is Lily and Lizo, my trusty assistants, doing what they do best. My husband, Andy, and myself, and my son, Marcus. And this is why I do what I do. This is why I wanted to transform my life and really grow beyond my diagnosis, really heal beyond the cure. Excuse me. So let's dive in here. And if you have your pen and pad, you might want to pull it out. We're going to talk about rebuilding your self-image. Now, I don't think that too many would argue that being diagnosed with an illness can really shake up your self-image. How many of us can remember just where we were when you heard the words, you have cancer, or you have diabetes, or you have an autoimmune disease? And in that moment, we're changed. So one of the first things we can do to really heal our lives is to rebuild our self-image. And I think this is really an opportunity because we have this opportunity to rebuild our self-image with intention and with purpose. And we take some time to do this. In fact, we take an entire month to do this within the Heal Your Life community. We consciously decide who we want to be because life experiences change us, and often what we want from life changes too. And the other piece of this is that many of us don't even think about ourselves. It's something that's developed over time. It's contributed to what we do, and what we do has contributed to that self-image. Our profession, our roles, all contribute to how we see ourselves. With this opportunity, we can actually, with intention and purpose, decide who we want to be, how we want to see ourselves, and how we want to present ourselves to the world. And so we're going to do this by asking the most important question. How do I want to feel? Now, when we think of self-image and image, we very often think of visual images. How do I want to look? How do I want to present myself? But I very purposefully start with, how do I want to feel? And I challenge you to go deeper than, I want to feel good, I want to feel happy, I want to feel healthy. Those are all great. But let's take it a little bit deeper into those feelings. For example, I want to feel like I'm contributing again. I want to feel beautiful. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel free. Really, the only rule that comes along with this exercise here is that you focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. So for example, I don't want to be in pain, or I don't want to feel like I'm disabled. Keep it in the positive of what you actually want to feel. And there's a reason we start with this question. And that is the absolute golden key to all of this. The secret to this is this little chain of events. And that is that our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings drive our behaviors. So starting right in the middle here, starting with how you want to feel is going to drive this process in both directions. So again, this is the order of things: thoughts, feelings, behaviors. Now, in the Heal Your Life membership, we work with this concept in depth, because if you know what you want to feel and how you want to feel, then you can decide what thoughts you need to have to create those feelings, and then how you want to behave based on those. And it's a practice. It's not something that comes immediately overnight. And we, in fact, practice this in our day-to-day lives doing all kinds of things. And that's why we spend an entire month on this concept. But taking just what we have here today, you can get started on this process. See, often if we've been living in I call it drama and trauma of illness, our feelings become predominant. And we sort of forget about the thoughts that led us to those feelings. And we can become an actual victim of our own feelings. So for those of you who are a little bit more visual, we can look at this chart here. This information that we gather, any information that we take in, turns into thoughts about that information. The thoughts turn into feelings, and then the feelings drive behavior. So let's take a real specific example from one of my clients. So I have a wonderful client who is actively managing her diabetes. So she called me the other day after her doctor's appointment, and the information that she received was that her fasting blood glucose, or fasting blood sugar, was 150. Okay, that's simply a piece of information. Now let's take this to a couple of different scenarios so you can see how thoughts are generated about that information. If, for example, this was a client who had never had any indications of diabetes and went to the doctor and got that result, she would be quite alarmed. Her thoughts would be something like, oh my gosh, I've never had a problem with this before. Why is my blood sugar so high? And her feelings from that might be fear or panic, anger, all of those kinds of things. And then those feelings would drive behaviors. If, however, it's my client who got that piece of information, this specific client, her thoughts are going to be very different about that, because her blood sugars have been extremely high and they've been running close to the 200s. So the piece of information about a fasting blood sugar of 150 for her is a bit of a victory. And her thoughts about that information are, thank goodness, what I'm doing is working. My body is getting better. My ability to manage things is getting better. And so her feelings would be very positive, even excited feeling about that. So again, as an example, this is a single piece of information, a single number. But given the context, it generates very different thoughts, and those thoughts generate very different feelings. Let me give you another very concrete example that I deal with my clients every day. A piece of information. Let's just say I get on the scale and it says 160 pounds. Okay, I can have a few different thoughts about that information. My thoughts can be, oh my gosh, I'm down. My diet must be working. Okay. Now, that's not necessarily the verbiage we would espouse or teach in the community, but face it, let's get real. That's what our mind says. Those thoughts would generate feelings of, yes, I'm glad. My body is getting healthier. I'm working towards my goals. I'm headed in the right direction. All of those kinds of things. All those thoughts lead to feelings of being happy, encouraged, healthy. That same piece of information, if last month I weighed 150 pounds and was where I wanted to be, and say I've been vacationing, eating and drinking what I don't normally eat, and get on the scale and see 160 pounds, my thoughts about that information might be, oh my goodness, I've not been making good choices. This is really not what I wanted. How did I let this happen? Okay. Again, I'm not selling these as the best thoughts in the world, but very natural thoughts. And those might lead to feelings of regret, of self-recrimination, of shame, of guilt, all of those kinds of things. Same piece of information, different thoughts leading to very different feelings. I can also tell you further downstream, those feelings lead to different behaviors as well. For our discussion right now, today, we're just going to stick to the feelings. So when we think about this, when we ask ourselves this big question, let's use some prompts here. And again, if you want, I'll get these prompts up here, and if you want to screenshot them, you can, so you can sit later with your journal and work through these. And you'll also get the replay if you want to listen. So I want you to consider these 3 prompts. What 3 words describe how I think of myself now? And what 3 words describe how I'd like to think of myself in the future? Second, what parts of my life contracted while I was focused on my diagnosis? And of those, which ones do I want to expand again? Here's a little hint, not all of them deserve reinstatement in your life. And the third prompt, how do I want to be remembered? The type of person who. So knowing that your thoughts are so important to the process of how you want to feel, this is an exercise we can use to practice and play with. And I challenge you to keep it light, because this is some of the most important work you'll be doing. It should be fun. So check in it a couple of different times, do some reverse engineering, like I suggested, and really kind of think about how you want to feel using these prompts as context. Now, a little bit of extra information here when we talk about what parts of my life have contracted. Contraction is very normal, and it's very common, and it's very necessary that when we're diagnosed or we have a really big event come into our life, it takes our focus, our attention, and that the other parts of our life fade into the background. And the point that I want to make with this is that, well, we want to really bring focus to some of those things that got dropped off in the background. Not everything deserves our focus and attention, especially in light of the way we change and grow throughout our life and throughout an event like a diagnosis or an illness. So take this time also to reconsider your commitment of time and energy, when to say no, when to say yes, and think about it in terms of your social life, volunteering, exercise, relationships, all of those kinds of things. Then the final question, how do I want to be remembered? The type of person who is a little bit different than that question is normally asked. It's often asked, what do you want your life to look like? But that's not very directional. Okay, asking how you want to be remembered allows you to maybe step out of yourself a bit and look in from the outside. So use the sentence, the type of person who, and I encourage you to try on ideas. And when you do this, you can write them in your journal, but I also encourage you to say them out loud, because there's something about hearing the words that's very different than just reading it on paper. And again, in the membership, we spend a full month playing and working with these concepts. So here's, some self-image examples from my own life. Now, when I was diagnosed, one of the diagnoses that came up was polycystic ovarian syndrome. And it had a bunch of other issues that came up with it. But because of that, I felt vulnerable and fragile, especially when I was in a lot of pain. I felt totally betrayed by my body. I felt faulty and broken. Professionally, I felt unreliable and downright unprofessional sometimes. I was wary of things. I was struggling. I felt weak. I felt somewhat secretive, these being female, quote unquote, female problems and all. I felt like I was suffering alone because, frankly, that's what I did. I isolated myself. I felt very unattractive, and I really felt like I was operating on the fringe of my life. After I did this work, I felt much more resilient, more self-confident, and so much more body aware. And that's an interesting one, because I came to realize that throughout my diagnosis, throughout the pain, throughout treatments, I had really disconnected from my body. I really was irritated and wanted nothing to do with my body from the neck down. Like hair, makeup, that was all fine. I could still engage with that, but I really disconnected from the rest of my body. Afterwards, also, I felt much more self-assured. I felt transformed, not like I had just been through something, but that actually had been changed in a positive way. I felt much more competent, much more expansive. And again, because I had really contracted in many ways. I felt capable. I felt much more content. And I felt like I was central in my life again. So if it's helpful for you at all, and you need some prompts, some ideas, absolutely take a screenshot here. And we can talk a little bit more about some of the examples. So, for example, the contracted portion. So the second question that I asked you about, where in your life have you felt more contracted since your diagnosis? I felt very much more contracted in my social life. I did not take on any extra activities at work at all. I was barely getting through what I needed to do. My volunteering dropped off. Because I was barely getting through what I needed to do, I had no energy, no ambition in my career to grow. My romantic interests really suffered, physical activity, and really interest in all of the things around me really contracted. And I noticed even so much less around me, and even travel, which is always one of my favorite things. Now, when I decided to consciously expand my attention and focus again, I did it just the important social activities. I didn't say yes to everything. I said yes to selective volunteering, and learning to say no is also something that we practice in the community. I made career changes, including what I'm doing today. I focused on expanding supportive physical activity. When my body felt like something that was betraying me, physical activity was at the very best something that I felt like I should do. And at the worst, it was a punishment for my body. It was a way that I could force control over my body, and it never went well. I expanded my appreciation for my husband and all the support that he gave me. Very intentional exploration of the world around me, the travel, and the use of my gifts. And finally, how do I want to be remembered? I want to be remembered as the type of woman who helps other women, builds community, shares experience, and creates a really strong framework for others' healing. And I can tell you, I'm living it and absolutely love it. So let's move on to key number 2, getting more out of life. So this is a big one for me. And this is one that I think a lot of women feel and don't really want to talk about. If I've already gone through so much and I've come out the other side, am I entitled to ask for more? Well, I'm happy to say that that's not how the universe works. We do get to ask for more. We don't have to hesitate. We just want to be really conscious about what it is that we're asking for. How about this? You feel like you want more and you're okay asking for more out of life, but you're not really sure what that more is. Or, along with me, in times of really bad pain and a lot of distress, have you ever made promises? Like, if I just get through this, I'll never ask for anything again. And I've done that. And I'm sure in the quiet, dark moments, especially in the middle of the night, a lot of you have as well. And again, thankfully, that's not the way the universe works. You get to ask for more. And in a supported fashion, you can discover what that more really is. So if you feel like you need it, I give you permission to dream again. And if you've been hesitant to ask for more, let's take it slowly and let's sneak up on it. Okay? So if you could have more, what would it be? And I want you to sit down and write things out. And I want you to start with the craziest, most outlandish things that you can think of. Because then the less ridiculous, the less outlandish will seem that much more possible. Okay. So one of the small things, and I say here, never underestimate the impact of small changes. One of the small things that always comes to mind was years ago when I was in a retreat in Costa Rica. I was with a group of women and we were on a lunch break from the program, and we walked into this small village and there was a wishing well. And so we were laughing and talking and having a good time, and we each grabbed some change and we made a wish and we threw our pennies in. And one of the women snuck back as we were leaving and tossed another penny in. And of course, we all gave her the business and said, hey, what, well, you're getting an extra wishing. What are you wishing for that's, that you had to run back for? And she said, and I'll never forget this because it was a very small thing with a huge impact. She said, I wish that every time I came to stoplights, they would be green. And I thought to myself, what an impact that would have on your day-to-day life if that's what happened. So it's just kind of a crazy little thing just to spur your thoughts on. Make a list, just write and write. Don't judge, just dream. What would you like? And after you've had time to do that, and again, you can take this away, work on it at your leisure. My intent with you is to give you value here in this class, things that you can take with you in life. But I want you to start by choosing one of those things at a time on your list of more. And note what your thoughts are about having, doing, or getting that. And I want to give you some examples of how one feeds into the other. So if, for example, the thing on your list prompts you to think, that's impossible, your feeling from that thought would probably be discouragement. If your thought changes a little bit, if your thought is, or thoughts are, others have done this, I may be able to do this as well, you would feel hopeful and encouraged. And then if your thoughts changed just a little bit more to others have done this, I actually know someone who teaches this, I'm going to do this, you would probably feel excited. Okay, so the piece of information, your one single item that you chose remained the same, but these are 3 different thoughts and the feelings that they may well generate. So what I offer to you here as an extension of that golden key secret is that for any given piece of information, you can choose the thoughts you have about it, which in turn lets you choose the feelings you have about it, and you can even choose the behaviors that you take. See, the fabulous news is that in this equation, if you will, in this flow, is that we have choice over at least 3 of the 4 categories. Now, I could argue that we have choice over the information that we choose to select as well. But for now, just recognize that we have this choice over 3 of the 4 categories. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is also we get to choose 3 out of the 4 categories. We get to choose what we're going to think, feel, and how we're going to behave. So when we recognize this choice, we know that we can step forward with intention and purpose and create our lives and improve our lives and create our self-image exactly the way we want. So I invite you to dive more deeply into this practice. Let's move on to key number 3. This time is really marching along here. And that is that healing happens in community. So one of my favorite quotes from Samantha Boardman is that happiness comes from with, not within. And I would add that healing to a great extent also comes from with. So happiness may be an inside job, but doing it completely in isolation is very ineffective. And it's the long way. It's taking the hard way. So when we talk about healing happening in community, and even when I talk about the Heal Your Life community and the membership, one of the first questions I get is, what kind of a support group is it? And for you, one of the first things that may come to mind when we talk about community is support groups. So I want to point out kind of the fundamental differences here, just so as we move forward, you can understand how this work is different. So support groups are typically transitional in nature, and they're diagnosis focused. Okay, so and there's support programs for almost every diagnosis. They typically happen in person, now more so online, sponsored by hospitals or clinics, and they are about the diagnosis, and they play a really important role, especially when you're first diagnosed, when you're gathering information, and again, when your whole life focus becomes the diagnosis. Right. The healing community is different, and I've created it to be different on purpose. It's resolution based and it's whole life focused. So both of these play an important role in that moving to healing beyond the cure. They play a different role at very different times. So healing happens in community, and the Heal Your Life community is designed to help you get on with the business of life in the very best way. Now, when you think about it, the majority of your life is lived within one community or another. We have our work communities, our friends, our family is a community, extended family. We do hobbies very often within community, and our religious practices, our churches and meetings are done in community. So it really makes sense to continue your healing journey in community. And again, this is coming from a card-carrying introvert. Believe me, I've been there. I've had very strong feelings about not wanting to share what's going on in my life within a community. So I've adapted the community that I've created to accommodate those feelings and to allow as much interaction or as little interaction in the community and the resources as someone desires. So healing happens in community because we learn and grow within our community. We become inspired and we inspire others. And there's a tremendous amount of strength that comes from that. And in community, we also see what is possible in our lives. And that's a very big part of what I do in the community and what we've created. So the resources and the materials in the community are designed to show what's possible, and they're designed to help you build to your goals and your possibilities. So today I promised you a new perspective on how your diagnosis fits into your life. And I hope you are coming to see that it can be a chapter, even if it's a significant chapter. It can be a chapter rather than your whole life. And I've promised you at least 3 actionable steps. And with the exercises and the journaling prompts, I think you have great material should you choose to move forward with that and continue to work with it. So let's talk about what brings success to healing. So creating a self-image that reflects who you have become in the most positive, expansive way contributes to healing success. Discovering and defining your desires and how you want to feel, and then taking action based on that golden key equation brings success to healing. And seeking out a community that supports your whole being rather than just focusing on your illness or diagnosis also brings success to healing. So, what would it feel like, seeing we've been talking about feelings, to step into the starring role of your life and leave the sick role behind? What would it feel like to really enjoy the process of intentionally creating a new self-image that reflects the woman you're becoming? And what would it feel like to really move beyond the diagnosis and heal your whole life? And when you think about those feelings, you really have two choices. You can leave things as they are and continue to struggle on your own to figure out how to create the life that you want. And I think that's a safe assessment or a safe assumption, because you've come here for a reason today. But you do have the choice to continue on your own, or you can join me and this amazing community of women to help you create and live your very best life. Imagine feeling confident in your body again, excited to try new things, in control of your time and energy. Imagine feeling proud of saying yes to all you desire with enthusiasm, and confident saying no to those things that no longer align with you and your new self-image. Imagine feeling your new self-image without regret and feeling fully present in your relationships. So just a reminder, not only is this masterclass, but the community itself, the Heal Your Life community, is for courageous women who want to move into that thriving, who know they deserve more out of life, who've changed and grown from the experience of their diagnosis, who want to feel empowered, and they want to do their diagnosis their way. So this isn't a matter of just saying, okay, we're going to deny that, we're going to forget about that, the diagnosis isn't there anymore. It's, yep, it's there. It was a chapter in my life. There may be components that I still need to manage, but I'm going to do that from this new, stronger, self-confident place. And this is for women who want to heal their lives beyond the cure. So if you're looking to be fixed, we can't do that for you. If you want to remain fully focused on your diagnosis, please do that. Take care of what you need to take care of, and then come back, because we'll be here waiting for you. The purpose of the Heal Your Life community is to create this space. And I'm passionate about helping women heal beyond just the cure, beyond just the diagnosis, because there's so much of life that gets lost or forgotten as we move through the crisis. And I consider rediscovering those pieces of my life and of your life to be sacred work. And I'm so honored and grateful for the women who have shared and continue to share that journey with me, that I wanted to create a space that this can happen for more women and can happen in a very holistic, wider, deeper way. And I welcome any of you who feel that same pull to rediscover your life after diagnosis to check out the community. So what does healing in the community mean? Well, it's, think about it as having your own toolbox. You'll be coached by someone, by me, by someone who's been in your shoes. You'll be surrounded by women who are on parallel journeys. They may or may not have the same diagnosis, but that's okay, because this community is not about the diagnosis. It's about moving into your new life. The moment you enroll, you'll have an action plan to begin creating a life plan that feels good to you. Each month, you'll get access to easily consumable information and tools. And the goal here is to make your life easier, not to add a lot of appointments or a tremendous amount of work. So some of the topics that we talk about, again, healing your self-image, we touched on some of that. We go much deeper into that. Healing your past, a fresh start anytime. Healing your relationships, that's actually November's topic. Healing your story, which means rewriting your story with you as the hero. Healing environments. Healing your body image, which is actually very different. It's a piece of your self-image, but a very specific part. Healing versus curing. So we talked about those terms today, why you need both. Healing beliefs, healing practices, like sleep, exercise as a gift to your body, breath work, and then healing the sick role and developing your exit strategy from that sick role. So how does this all work? What does this look like? So video lessons on the topic of the month are 15 to 20 minutes long, very easy to consume. It's part of the membership. You can go in to the membership at any time, watch the video lessons, listen, download audios, download the workbooks, do the work online. And you can use as many or as few of the resources that are available. And then each month there's 2 live calls where we dive deeper into the monthly topic, and I take all of your questions. And the fun part is these calls are recorded and then they're available on the membership site. And again, all of it's designed to be very easy to consume and done at your own pace. So the total value of this package is $950 a month. But as I said, I wanted to make this very widely available. I wanted to make it easy to access. So rather than $950 a month, the regular price is $97 a month. But for this short time, I'm running this at $47 a month, which is only $1.57 a day. Now, this special price isn't going to last forever. I'm called to do this. I want to make this as accessible as possible. I also want to be able to provide as many resources as I possibly can. But for now, $47 a month. And really ask yourself, are you worth $1.57 a day? So this QR code you can scan, pick up your phone, open your camera, scan the QR code, and that will guarantee that you get the $47 a month, special pricing. And this membership is really unique because there's no long-term commitment. You don't have to do this for a year. You don't have to do it for 6 months. It's month to month. So you can cancel at any time. While you're in the membership, you have access to all of the classes and materials that came before. And you can take advantage of as many or as few of the materials as you like at your own pace. Now, your membership will stay $47 a month as long as you stay a member. So really, what have you got to lose? When was the last time you did something just for yourself? Not for your husband, not for your kids, not for your illness, but for you as a woman who has hopes and dreams and goals in your life. I also want to offer, because this membership is fairly new and I can still do this, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this, But I'm offering a special bonus for those that sign up during this masterclass, a free 30-minute one-on-one coaching session. And during that session, we can talk about any topic you want. And it's just you and I. And it's very simple. I send you a link. You schedule at a time that's convenient for you. And we can talk about anything within the program, things you're dealing with outside of the program. And that is my special bonus gift to you. So if you missed that QR code, don't worry, it's coming up again. And if you sign up during this masterclass, I will send you the link to book a free coaching session with me. So just to kind of recap, you get 2 live calls each month. You get a community of women on a similar journey. You get video content, audio downloads, printed materials. You get a Facebook group that you can choose to participate in or simply consume information from at only $47 a month. You can cancel anytime and your price stays at $47 a month as long as you're a member. And if you join today, you get the one-on-one bonus call. So I'll take Q&A now. The QR code is up on the screen. Again, if you open your camera, you can certainly scan that and it will take you directly to checkout at that price. And if for some reason that's not working out for you, there is the link. Again, you can take a picture of that if you don't want to sign in right now and check out. And now I will take some questions. If you want to just type them into the chat box, let me take a sip of water here. Okay, so the first question, is this a program that tells us what to do each month? So there is a topic of the month. There is an introduction, an introductory video from me, the video content, and then any resources or additional pieces. Once you are in the membership, you can go to that material anytime you choose. You can go to other months' materials that were recorded in prior months. So if, for example, healing practices is something that you're more interested in this month, you can go to that month and view that work and listen to those calls that were recorded. Or you can work along with the month. Just know that each month's Q&A calls, the live Q&A calls with me, will be on the topic of the month. But you're free to move about freely and make use of whatever materials you like. So this is not prescriptive in saying that on the first of the month you do this, on the second of the month you do that. I find especially women who are managing life with the diagnosis, even if they're coming off of that, need the flexibility. They need the freedom to be able to consume the information when they want, and then get the support either in the Facebook page or by asking questions on the calls or listening to the recording calls. To have that flexibility makes a big difference. Okay. Oh, you know what? This is a question that I get more than once, so I probably should add a slide about this. What if I don't have an actual diagnosis but had surgery? Okay, so something like orthopedics. So I've had this question from people who have had hip surgery, who've had other types of surgery. They no longer have an illness, but the condition, say the mobility condition leading up to surgery, or other circumstances that led up to the surgery, really made their life change in a way that they didn't like. And so, yes, I have worked with clients, and we do have members who are recovering from surgery. And even after they've recovered from surgery, they're reshaping their lives. You know, one woman said, before I got my hip surgery, I had turned into an old lady. I would think twice before I get up and move anywhere. I didn't want to go to the grocery store. So yes, if you've had a change in your lifestyle. Again, the people who are transitioning through this pandemic and whose life has contracted greatly, who want to very intentionally re-expand that life, this is a perfect place to be, because we don't talk about your diagnosis necessarily. We don't talk about the illness. We talk about what's happening to move your life forward in each of the different monthly topics. How difficult is it to cancel membership? It's actually very simple. I chose the platform that I did because I wanted it to be simple for both of us. If whatever the circumstances are in your life that you need to cancel after a few months or after a month, although I'd love to have you stay on, you can go in to the account, cancel that, stop payments. You don't need to call me. You don't need to email me. It's something you can do completely on your own. So when it comes to making this commitment, it's really very simple. I've tried to make it as much of a no-brainer as possible for you to invest this time and this energy in building your new and absolutely best life. So I'm not seeing any more questions here. If there's not, then I will say thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend with me and taking that time for yourself. If you have any questions,